When did the war start, and when did you start going to school when the war started?
The war started in 1975.
How old were you?
I was born in the war. I was born in 1973, just before the clash, few months before the clash of the war. And I grew up hearing all these different sounds. I used to come home and study. I didn't have electricity at home. I used to study with the light of the candle. And Mom refused to go out, to leave the house. She used to tell me, well, you sit in the corner with your brother, you read the book, and whatever happens, happens. If we're meant to live, we will live, and if we're meant to die, we will die all together. So I never knew what a shelter is. But I remember one day it got really harsh. The whole street was out of the houses, and it was just me, my mom, and my little brother who was 1 year old. And we had to leave the house because all the everything, like all the glasses were destroyed, broken. And I remember that we packed and we had to walk for 45 minutes to reach my aunt's house under the bombs. And so I was.
So you were out in the streets.
Yes, my mom was carrying my little brother because he was 1 year old, and I was running with her, carrying a suitcase. And just 5 minutes after leaving the house, a bomb came inside the house, where we were.
Your house.
Yes. And whenever I pass through that house, I still see the sign of this bomb that came into it.
Imagine if they were in that house. Imagine if it took them 5 more minutes to pack. It got destroyed.
It got destroyed in the war?
It might have been by a bomb.
It might have been by a bomb.
So they were walking to school in a war. Who would go to school in the war? Wouldn't you just say you were sick? But they were really lucky that they came out just in time.
Right.
Because then they would have died. And then, if they died, we would have not heard that story.
When you grow up having lived through that, how does it change how you see the world?
Because this is what makes the Lebanese people fighters, because we always look at the positive side. It gives you strength and resilience, and resilience is very important in life, because no matter what happened, we were able to move on, stand up again and move on. When you meet other cultures, other civilizations who haven't been through that, you feel that you can adapt anywhere. You can go anywhere and just adapt because you've been through the worst. I think the lesson that Lebanon can teach the world is that you can still smile and live and have fun and enjoy life through it all. We still have problems, we still have issues, we still have lots of contradictory differences between each other as Lebanese, but we're still living with each other. And as you see, we go out, we have fun, we laugh, we live.
Next, we do the unthinkable, at least according to Canada's travel advisory. We leave Beirut and go see some of the beautiful countryside, including the ancient ruins of Baalbek and my friend Naji's winery in the hills of Bamdoun. Although we're just 23 kilometers from the coast, Bamdoun sits at over 3,000 feet elevation.
Do you remember Naji, Clint?
Yeah, I remember Naji. Yeah. And I also remember his donkey. He had a donkey in his house.
After the war, I lived in France. I studied in Nice, mathematics, and then I studied in the States, in Indiana at Notre Dame, where I met my wife, Jill.
So why did you come back?
Oh, I came back because a part of me was missing, because this whole thing was taken away from me. I think had Lebanon always been there, maybe I wouldn't have come back. But because it was missing, because I felt it needed me, and I needed it, it was like a part of you that was taken away from you. So you need to bring it back and make it part of your life, right? So when we returned in 2000, the Syrian army was still occupying Lebanon. So there was no conflict, except there was a movement to get the Syrian army out of Lebanon. So we moved back here, and the kids lived through that. Then the Syrians left, and we had the occasional problem, which you have all over the world nowadays, but it was fine. It was really fine.
There was a big war, and it destroyed his house and his bedroom.
Many years ago, this was my bedroom. There was a nice big home here called Hotel Bellevue, and it was right here. And this was my own bedroom. And there was war here, very bad war, in 1982, and the war destroyed my home. And my grandfather had a wine cellar. That's where he used to store the wine that he made. And that was the wine cellar, right down here. So, one day, when I make enough money, I'm going to rebuild my grandfather's cellar and home.
Can you describe
What it would feel
what
like?
it would feel like
Well,
as a kid to have your bedroom blown up?
I would be really sad because all the stuff in it, especially if something that I had worked really hard for was in it, and even if I did buy a new house with a bigger bedroom, I probably would never forget it.
If there's one thing we can learn from Naji, it's that life in Lebanon isn't always the easiest or most comfortable, but it does have this undeniable attraction. It seems to be a recurring theme wherever we went. People live, persevere, and grow. Situated between Syria and Israel, Lebanon is the smallest sovereign state in the continent of Asia. That means that Beirut is only 60 kilometers from the border of Syria and 100 kilometers from Damascus, a city currently heavily affected by the Syrian civil war. And while we were aware of this, we were also assured that at the same time, travel in the area was relatively safe. Given what we were told in the first-hand experiences of actually seeing Lebanese people here carrying on with their lives, traveling outside of the city, we felt that was more of a compelling clue about the potential safety than the written words of somebody in an office on the other side of the world. Although, that didn't mean we weren't a little nervous.